Inside Out 2 has been crushing the box office and turning out to be the highest grossing animated movie of all time if we're not counting the live-action Lion King remake. There is also a good chance that my Inside Out videos are the reason you found this channel, and although I hoped you liked some of my other videos, I thought I would revisit the original movie almost 10 years later. I asked you in a poll on Friday what you wanted, and you said this, but don't worry, I know people want a Patrick video, so that will be next Wednesday, if this video gets enough support. Getting back on track, Inside Out is really intriguing to rewatch and see how much you missed all those years ago. But the real key thing that I like to talk about is the characters, or should I say the emotions in this movie. And although I could have made a video on sadness or anger or disgust or fear, diving a little bit more into their key roles in the movie, I want to talk about Joy and her lasting impact on the film. Joy is special, and personally my favorite, because she is the closest we have to an antagonist as long as we push anger out of the picture. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not calling out Joy for being a villain or anything, because she is somewhat of a protagonist of the movie, even if sadness turned out to have a much bigger purpose in the movie than joy. What I mean is that joy is a different case, where the movie tricks you into believing that sadness is the enemy, and that joy is the only emotion you should value based off of the logical idea that no one likes to feel sad. This introduction of the characters could not be more fake when we dive further into the movie, because Joy from Inside Out teaches us how to write a false protagonist. Hold on, but what is a false protagonist? Well, there isn't a full definition I could find that wasn't Wikipedia, but if we take in mind that false in the simplest terms means not true, and the protagonist is the leading character we follow, we can assume that a false protagonist would mean that the main character actually isn't the real main character. I am claiming that Joy is the biggest antagonizing force in the movie, but also that doesn't mean too much since there really isn't any villainy in the movie, unless you want to argue Anger's idea. So to start this off, I think I should introduce you to my friends, the subscribe, like, comment, and share buttons, because all of these help so much and also benefits you if you're interested in more of my content. And make sure to look out for my upcoming live streams, because I'm doing those now and they're really fun to talk about movies and play games. Anyways, the real first part of how to write a false protagonist is breaking down why Joy's characterization in the beginning of the movie is necessary. Being the first emotion Riley feels, we see an immediate contrast of character when joy comes in to make Riley happy and then sadness ruins it, which is the consistent reason Joy seems to be in charge over all the other emotions. Setting up Joy's dominance over the emotions in the beginning is something we see later was only a bad thing, with the Joy trying to push away all the other emotions and especially sadness. Moving outside of headquarters, we view all of the problems Riley is facing because of sadness wanting to be too involved with what everyone else was doing. I think Joy's annoyance towards sadness is something we as an audience can relate to, especially if you haven't seen the movie or know how it ends. Since, once again, I will emphasize that most people don't like to feel sad. The reasoning Joy is characterized like this is because the audience needs to think the movie is trying to teach them another lesson about happiness is your friend, and then slowly push the message into all your emotions matter as the movie progresses, allowing for the audience to catch on to the idea at any time with the intent that as they exit the theater, they will realize the true message of the movie. With that out of the way, the key part of having a false protagonist is that the people need to realize that it's a false protagonist, and the way Inside Out does it is by antagonizing the protagonist, by letting the audience see the true nature that Joy doesn't want sadness and almost leaves her behind for what she thinks is Riley's benefit. But everything does come crashing down when Joy and Bing Bong fall into the pit where all old memories fade away. If this movie didn't try and antagonize Joy by literally pushing out sadness, the message would have never come across, especially because of how Joy being so focused on what she thinks is best for Riley. This is the reason Bing Bong is dragged into any of this in the first place. And also, this is one of the biggest reasons why Bing Bong dies. What's so great about the scene in the pit is that the audience starts to piece together all these things for themselves and realizes how selfish Joy actually is. All of her previous actions in trying to be nice to sadness is something that is made clear and shows the sides of sadness no one wanted to hear, but instead needed to hear. Something I'd like to mention is that if you have seen my anxiety breakdown talking about how she's an ethical antagonist, you can find major similarities between Joy and anxiety and how both of them only want the best for Riley, but in their ways of trying to accomplish that, they never take a step back to realize that maybe they're pushing Riley away more than they thought. This also makes the ending scene where Joy is trying to convince anxiety to let Riley go even more emotional. Because Joy understands what anxiety is thinking and trying to convince her into letting go because they almost lost her the last time this happened. And as well, Joy takes responsibility for her actions. The best thing for Riley is letting Riley be Riley and feeling the emotions she needs to feel in the moment. I think this also transitions us nicely into how Joy realizes what she has done and realizes the antagonist she has become, even though she was doing what she thought was ethically good for Riley. With that said, this is the section that redeems Joy from being the antagonist, but we also fully understand with Joy at this point that sadness is the key to saving Riley. And just to hammer this all home, when Joy and Sadness are able to get back to headquarters and Joy pushes Sadness to help Riley, this shows the full contrast of power dynamic from the beginning scene. Since Joy used to run the place and push the other emotions out of the way so that she can only keep Riley happy, where in the end, Joy doesn't push Sadness away, but pushes her to take control and be the one in control for this moment, as we figure out who the secret protagonist of the movie was, and the one to flip the entire message from what we thought we'd get to what we actually got in a perfect bow. To quickly recap everything I just said, Joy works as a false protagonist because the audience fully understands that she isn't the most important character in the movie, at least by the end of it. I'm so glad that Inside Out 2 also decided not to retcon all of what Joy learned from the first movie, or else the final moments wouldn't have been as well put together in the slightest. And without Inside Out 2, honestly, I probably wouldn't be here, so thank you to that movie a lot. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Comment anything you want. If you think someone you know would like this video, then share it with them as well. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm Enchanted. Bye.